But my job was to train this horse through the levels of dressage and compete him. So that was my job. And if I didn't do it, he was going to be sold. So I really felt like I was stuck in a really hard place. And despite my efforts of explaining how I felt this horse was not wanting to do this job that he was expensively bought to do, I remember thinking, this horse just does not want to do dressage. Yes, he had the breeding. Yes, he had the conformation. And my God, he could move. Doing extended trot when he wanted to and when he felt strong and when he felt relaxed to do it was incredible. It was like a sitting trot I had never sat on before. But that was about 2% of the time. The other 98% of the time was so difficult. I discussed his behaviors with the vets. We looked at, different ultrasound scans, x-rays. Everything came back clear. Typical. Something wasn't right. And I had to keep going because I didn't want him going to the wrong hands and be bullied. And to be honest, he was quite dangerous at times, which is why I ended up riding him, because before I arrived at this yard, I came from a thoroughbred background of starting like young horses that were behavioral, and they weren't behavioral. There was always a reason, as you and I know this. But when I then came to this dressage yard, it didn't really matter what I sat on because I was like, I've kind of seen it all. I wouldn't do that now, by the way. 37, totally different to when I was 27. Let me know if you're the same. This episode today is part of 7 episodes that I'm going to be releasing as part of being a horse listener, sharing real stories, sharing frameworks that you can do to improve your relationship, that deep connection that you have or that you want to have with your horse. Your horse has been trying to tell you something. Every time they resist, right? Every time they brace, every time something doesn't go the way we planned. Countless lessons I've been to, and I'm going to always be referring to this young horse that I started the whole episode with, where he's being difficult and not showing me what I wanted to see or what the trainer wanted to see that day. This is for this horse because I'm so grateful for the lessons he taught me. And obviously it makes me very sad that back then I didn't have the knowledge and the tools that I have today. For over 30 years of working with horses, all the way from representing GB in the MCI, international European competitions, even as a chiropractor, international lead working with Olympic level athletes, I see patterns everywhere. Riders trying to fix when the horse is already giving them the answer. Most of us aren't actually aware that the horse we have in front of us has the answers. We show up with this plan, our plan that we've thought out, or the trainers thought out that has never met the horse. They're just basing their plan on the age of the horse and what the horse should be doing. Push harder, more pressure. But what if the horse's problem isn't a problem? In this episode of the Horse Listener series, I'm going to show you exactly how horses learn, what they're trying to tell us, and why everything changes when we start listening. Every single horse, every single one has a potential, just like you and me. We come into this world bright-eyed, clear-minded, so curious about the world. That potential only shows up when we learn to influence their mind instead of forcing their body. So this starts with understanding 2 things: the try and the release. Over the next 7 episodes, I'm going to walk you through how to develop this complete understanding and effortless communication that I don't know about you, but I definitely seek with any horse that I'm working with. Today, we're going to start with the foundation, how horses actually learn and what they've been trying to show you all along. See, when things aren't going well with your horse, the first question that I ask myself is, how could I have been better that day? Not what's wrong with him. What am I bringing? What am I creating that I'm maybe not seeing? This can actually be quite difficult, especially when we love our horses so much that we end up becoming a bit blindsided to it because we want to I don't know, wrap them up in bubble wrap and just give them one big fat kiss on the, yeah, you get it, right? We just love them so much. But that shift from wanting to fix the horse to examining yourself is the first foundation step, the try. One more of the most important things that I focus on, and this goes back to this gelding that I shared in the opening of this episode, is working with horses, letting them know when they've got it right. That could even mean stopping where you are in the lesson and saying, that's enough. I'm going to let my horse process. He did that move so beautifully. I'm going to end it on that note. That's actually really hard to do. Most of us actually miss it completely because we're so focused on the end result. The perfect circle, the smooth transition, that soft contact, that we don't actually notice when our horse is searching. That search, that effort to figure it out is called the try. And the try is the moment your horse leans into the question you're asking. Even if they don't get it right yet, even if they're still a little bit confused, they're trying. And if we don't acknowledge that try, how are they actually going to know to do it again? They won't. They'll end up shutting down or trying a different thing, which makes us get more frustrated. We get anxious, or they get anxious. They start guessing wildly because they have no idea what you actually want. This leads on to the Horse Listener program, which if you're interested in, comment below. I'll put you on the waiting list. I teach you this disciplined communication which saves you the frustration, saves you the confusion. You learn to reward the try in 3 steps. Step number 1 is being present, not on your phone, not talking to a friend in the arena, or planning dinner, or bringing whatever's happened before your ride to your ride because you're thinking it and you're almost in going with the flow kind of action when you're on your horse. No. Actually be present with your horse in that moment. I see this when I'm treating horses, even as a chiropractor. The moment I am actually fully present, like truly present, the horse shows me the relaxation, or maybe the relaxation was always there. I'm now just aware of it because I am totally present. The nervous system response is heightened. Their mind, the body softens. That's how I know that I'm having an effect. And the same happens when we're riding and even doing groundwork. You can't reward the try if you don't actually notice it happening in the beginning. Step number 2, ask for small, tiny improvements. Horses actually want to get along with us. They really, really do. But if we ask for too much too fast, they can get overwhelmed. So think of really small improvements that we build up on gradually. If you're asking for, say, a soft bend and your horse gives you just that, like a tiny release in their jaw, that's the try. Acknowledge it, stop them, reward them. So they, in their mind, go, that's what you wanted. Oh, well, that makes sense. Number 3, step 3, is actually give your horse time to process what has just happened in their mind and in their body. I've seen this both from treating horses around the world to riding horses. I watch for this. The relaxation. It could be the lick and the chew, deep inhale, exhale, maybe a shift in their posture. That is what I interpret as processing. Spend time on the process, this release. The outcome doesn't have to be perfect. The try is what builds the relationship. The try is what creates trust. The try is what makes your horse want to be with you. I'm going to say that again. The try is what makes your horse want to be with you. Doesn't that just take the pressure off of your shoulders? It definitely does for me. The next part of this episode is the release. Horses learn through pressure and release. That's like the fundamental of communication between you and them. Pressure doesn't always mean pain. It can mean you ask a question, maybe with your leg, with your seat, your hand, your voice, your body position. Obviously, it can be in the way of tack and things like that as well. It's This release that tells them what they got right. And the key to the pressure release is, drumroll please, your timing. Timing is communication. And if your timing is off, you're not having a conversation with your horse. It's where a lot of confusion happens. Let's say you've asked your horse to move forward and lean into it slightly, and then they try, okay? If you release the pressure instant as they try, you've just told them, yes, that, do more of that, okay? But if you don't, and you keep the pressure there because they didn't move forward enough for you yet, or because maybe you're waiting for them to really commit, you've just told them that their try didn't matter. So the release encourages the horse to try again. Without the release, they stop trying. Now, doesn't that make so much sense? Pay attention to your timing. Are you releasing the moment they try, or are you holding the pressure until they give you the whole answer? Are we wanting the entire book without reading the first chapter? See, horses don't learn from getting the whole answer right. They learn from the release, the timing that follows this effort. Imagine you're learning a new language. So someone's asking you a question in that language. You stumble through an answer. Maybe you get the grammar wrong. Maybe your accent is terrible, like a bit like me when I'm trying to learn Italian, but you tried. If they immediately smiled and said, yes, good, you're getting it, of course you try again. But if they just stare at you, waiting for the perfect sentence, you'd probably give up, get frustrated, and just honestly start panicking like I do, which is just throw more words and then feel even worse, and then don't try again. And that's what happens when we don't learn to release. So this is an example both in humans and animals, but obviously I'm talking from the horse perspective today. Okay, allow your horse to find the release. Any pressure to think, to search, to try harder, reward that. Just stop in that very moment, no matter where you are, let them process. The release is what really makes the next try possible. The third section to this episode is why that pulling doesn't work. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how many years in the early stages of having horses, I tried the pull, and let me know if you have any stories to share. I remember being at a competition once, and I was probably about 16 or 17 years old, and we were the first class of the morning. It was a showing competition. I had my Wealth Section D there. He was on loan. He won like the championship class, so it was like finished by 9 a.m. I couldn't get him to load. Despite being the first ones on the showground, winning a very good competition, we were the last ones on the showgrounds. We couldn't load the horse. The pulling, we had big guys trying to pull, the epitome of how to do it wrong. There's a really big problem in the world today, the horse world, is this pulling. See riders pulling on the horses' faces, pulling them into position, pulling them through movements, creates a lot of heavy braced, anxious horses. When you pull, you're not communicating. Your timing is off. You're actually forcing, and the forcing breaks everything I just explained about that try and release. So when you pull, not only is your timing off, you can't release at the right moment because you're too busy pulling. Your effort and focus is in the wrong place. And I'm speaking to you from such a place of compassion because I'm talking to my younger version of me that used to do this. The horse can't search for the answer because we're giving them the wrong answer through force. See, they will then learn to constantly brace the pressure instead of softening to it. Because once we learn to not pull and release the pressure, they then remember that. Their brain goes, well, I had no pressure when that happened. But if we constantly pull and pull, the learning is broken. And I get it. So pulling is very much a human habit. And it's what we do when we are frustrated, maybe scared, or trying to get control. Okay, it doesn't work. Horses are huge. They're always going to win if it's a pressure competition. but not if we want a soft, willing, connected animal, connected horse. So what we need to do instead is a slight pressure, hold, but no pulling. You apply the pressure, very light, consistent is the key, and you wait. If it takes minutes, if it takes hours, if it takes days, you wait. Be patient, consistent. Give your horse the time to search for the release. They will find it. See, when they soften even slightly, just that little bit, could be just the jaw going like this, you release immediately. Move your feet, don't keep them still. Oh my gosh. I don't know about you, but in the UK we have this thing called the BHS standard. And it is like a robot working a horse. I get it from a safety perspective, why they implemented it. And hopefully one day will get abolished. And an actual horsemanship, a way of working with horses from a practical safety perspective comes into play. Because keeping your feet still is not leading through example. Horses move with their feet. Learn to move your feet. So many riders that I see stand there completely frozen in one spot, pulling harder and harder, hoping the horse will magically understand. Move with them. Follow their movement. Keep your body dynamic so that they can release instead of being locked in one place. Releasing creates willingness. That's what we're after, that willingness. Isn't that what a relationship is all about? It's interesting when you see wild horses, and I don't know about you, but I watch a lot of YouTube wild horses. My dream one day is to go and be with some wild horses and learn, watch. The next segment of this episode is what these wild horses teach us. When I see these videos of like Mustangs, I'm amazed. And what strikes me is that they have no baggage, they have no human influence, no human problems compared to a lot of the horses I see nowadays. There's no pull on them. No one's forced them into a frame, no one's punished them for not understanding. They're raw and pure, which means your timing and your pressure release has to be so on point, has to be like seconds, milliseconds. That's what they're wired for, and that's how their nervous system works. In the wild, they need this for survival. They feel the pressure the moment we apply it. It couldn't be us just stepping into the ring, and they respond to that instantaneously. So if you watch wild horses, you can learn quite naturally and apply the same things to your own horse. The difference is that the domesticated horses have learned something else first. They've learned to brace, to shut down, to not be curious, to ignore pressure because the release never seems to come. But you can undo that, and horses have this amazing way of forgiving us. You can rebuild the natural response through consistency, through your timing, through rewarding the try and releasing at exactly the right moment. Wild horses actually remind us what's possible when we work with the horse's mind instead of forcing the body. Everything that I've shown you here today comes down to this: putting the horse first in every situation, every ride, every interaction. Before you do anything with your horse, ask yourself, how am I today? What am I bringing to the table? Am I present? How's my horse? Are they in pain? Is their body mature enough for what I'm asking? Have I built foundation through groundwork first? What I teach in the horse listener is my communication disciplined? If it's not, how can I expect my horse to be a partnership? If you haven't sat or if you haven't come across any of this before, rewatch it or share it with someone who you feel would really benefit would really benefit from this. I'm not perfect. I've never been perfect, and I never will be. But there's one thing I am constantly doing is improving the version of myself, and the horses teach me this every time I work with them. In the next episode, episode 2, I'm going to be really diving into groundwork, the foundations, like what makes everything else possible. You're going to learn about how to build trust, develop communication, and create this deeper relationship where your horse actually chooses to be with you. Not because they have to, because they actually want to. Thank you for being here. If you haven't already, give me a follow and a subscribe. And thank you for caring about your horse to learn this kind of work.